So I wanted to read this poem today because of something I've been thinking about recently, and that's that I think it's time for me to be more, I think it's time for me to be or not to, that isn't the question. It's time for me to be unapologetically, for I have placed me behind everything, and I am blinded by it, and I am drowning in it, and I am sticking my head through an open window in the middle of the night, upstairs, screaming at the sky, why the hell am I still here? And I have been leaving pieces of myself on a breadcrumb trail back home, tossing wishes like in pointless penny fountains, whipping fingers through candle smoke at my desk side, making metaphors out of dripping wax, discarded and transparent, and all the sounds that echo that I've ceased to make as it'll settle on my outstretched finger, the jolting burn of apathy invading me gradually like the homework that stacks in the bags of my eyes, takes up hours of my night that swallows fleeting bites of peace. Once upon a time meant something like a future shaped like wildflowers, then like getting into brown. Once upon a time picked up a pencil, and then we all began to tell her our own story. Time caught me off guard. Now here I am barefoot down the puddle side of Putnam Road when a kind gentleman wishes me good morning. It's 11:49 and he thinks I know his granddaughter Madelin, and aren't my feet sore, but then aren't they just telling their tale of the wood chips and empty painted yellow lines and how they are becoming thick of earth and stained like tree sap with a silver ring on my toe since climber fingers grow too callous thick from telling their stories. I tend to write time with a capital, as she is to me the unforgotten friend, the one who wrote the rhapsidies of youth, then never seemed to pay a visit anymore. In the living room, my parents watch her scurry through a previously invisible hourglass. With each falling grain, they grow more restless than wise. My father bends over the table like it's anything but stable. He says Walden was my Bible, and I never worked for money, only time. My mother holds me in her gaze. She says I cannot live a lie. As I watch them unravel mingled roots into fresh soil, I'm counting the days they have spent hoping on a future, contemplating the want for sleep which thrills me from within, all in the name of what? Of college. Then to put paper in my pockets. Obsession often likes to dress itself up as preparation. In light of this, I trace the days of a simpler brain, written in mint wood sorrel and dandelioness in an open field wherein grass and I tell our stories a little different and a little beautiful each year. Chapter 1. My brother and I swish milkweed under sibylline blue and quintessential cloud puffs, skip a page or two, I'm 9 years wiser, and on my back next to a girl over grass-colored gold to fallen stars with open palms, she says, I wish I could freeze this moment. Tuck it into a bottle to wear around my neck, fold it into the smooth pink middle of a shell we found in summer, hold it to my ear and listen to each other's beating chests and wind and crickets. And I'm thinking this is why I tell my story. Time skips a beat and here I am again, newly free of a separate wilting star, and now alone, perhaps not lonely, trying to fill some wounds with a still empty page when with the thoughts of grass blades, and one of them whispers, listen, loving, isn't it like a four-leaf clover? You can go out and look for a lifetime, it eludes you, then suddenly one day it's stumbled upon randomly, and maybe it's magic, maybe it wilts, and regardless you can hold it in your palm for a time. And poet, I think growing is a little like having a dream rise in the open and set behind a maple-ridden skyline, but there's color left and it's draped about your eyes. And I think living makes its rounds in the style of a book. Leave it safely on the shelf, its pages won't ever tatter. Pile it with unfinished projects and you'll never know just what's inside. Paint over the pages, but the text will remain. Leave it outside in the thunderclap, winter-stung and pollen-infiltrated world. You'll find its ink blurs into art. Leave it open every night in the crack behind your bed and window next to flashlight, and its ink turns to art. Leave it scribbles in the margins, and one day you'll see your story changing you into art, and so perhaps today I will create myself. For I'm already given the canvas and the colors, and all that's left to do is diversify the strokes. And then one of us spoke. "Dear writer," said the voice, "your first poems may be autobiographies. You can carve your messy, aching soul into the palm of your hand, thrust it out over the audience. You can spill your shattered pieces over the podium. It won't put you back together, but it'll toss you from the nest head on till where words split the tender air, fill your mouth up, brain, soul like water, let them teeter at the precipice beginnings of your lips and pencil tips. I think it's time for me to be brave. Still, I wonder, will my story fail to etch itself into the sharp cliff edges of time? Will I fade or leave a legacy in history or library? Must it matter if I am or am not remembered? I think it's time for me to be today, to live for today, for the future. To live for the future is to hand yourself over to a time which never existed and never will if my growth remains perpetually and possibly not enough. I think starting now it is time for me to be happy when I can, peaceful if it's possible, listening when the world calls for an ear. I think I'm here, okay with the person I've become, okay with the song that life has sung me, and ready to be harmony, even if it means to wait upon inevitable rest. Therefore, to breathe is not the same as to settle.